ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome into the bullpen. Myself, Brian McDonald, along with Sean Mapes, Cam Smith, and Johnny Belmer behind the glass. You can find me on Twitter at SackByBMac. Sean's on Twitter at Sean A. Mapes. Cam is at Clutch City Cam. And Johnny is on Twitter at Third Coast Johnny. And we're flipping the script a little bit because honestly, I didn't know the Texans game was starting now until John told us in our group text. I just assumed like every Texans preseason game ever that it was at night, but no, it's going on here in just a matter of minutes. So we'll obviously be live in the moment with overreactions, moment by moment of Texans Giants.
It's the third preseason game. It's the dress rehearsal game, so they have to do it at noon.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. This year they're a little more prime time, and like last year that would have been fitting because like every game was at noon, and in most of Texans history, every game was at noon. But yeah, this year they've actually got like 5-6 games at night. So right before this game starts off, and we'll start Texans here in the first two segments, get into some Astros later in the hour, but. Before this game kicks off, gentlemen, we know the starters are playing. I saw the news that Joe Mixon's going to get out there. I don't know how long they'll be there. I'm going to guess probably a quarter.
It's the dress rehearsal game.
Yeah, I know, but they're not doing the 2.5 quarters like they used to. Like back in my day, Arian Foster was playing till the end of the third quarter. They're not doing that.
Soft.
He's going to play one drive.
No, he's nice. They're going to play more than that. They played 2 drives last game. It's going to go off from there, Cam. But like, what do we want to see? Like, it's a preseason game, but what do we? Don't get hurt because that is the most cop out answer you can give.
Yeah, that's all
some people at the station do that. It drives me crazy.
Preseason, that's all.
What do you care about most in this game, Texans Giants? I think the obvious one is Joe Mixon's debut. Like, what do we want to see from this game?
Less even Joe Mixon's debut, just more effective running game. I would like to see the guards and the center and obviously then the running back get some open lanes going. Get some push.
It's been rough so far.
No more of this. Damian Pierce looked awful with his 1 yard per carry. You know who looked good though? Cam Akers with his 2.6 yards per carry. No.
It's been a low bar.
That's quite a drastic difference though, Sean.
Yeah, that's almost
tripling his yards per carry.
No, I need over 3 yards per carry from some of these running backs.
Okay, the bar from Sean A. Maves says he wants to see 3 yards per carry, over 3 yards per carry. Which, look, I mean, obviously the Giants made the big splash. Oh my God, I hate you. The Giants made the big splashy move, adding Brian Burns in the offseason that we got to see on Hard Knocks, and their defensive line has been great. Probably top 5 or so defensive line in the NFL. So if they do fulfill Sean's wish and go over 3 yards per carry, that'll actually mean something. And from everything I've heard about, the little that Joe Mixon has practiced, there is a difference when he's in the game. The running game does look better. So what else do you want to see from this game, Cam?
I would like to see some consistency amongst the O-line, and I'm actually really excited to see Kamari Lassiter play.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I kind of adding to that, sticking with the secondary, I want to see how the safeties look. Obviously, not facing the greatest passing attack with Daniel Jones, but I was a little disappointed, and we're not going to get much into it. But the Texans not signing Justin Simmons, because we know Jimmy Ward's not going to stay healthy. He's not going to stay healthy. He's 31, 32. Didn't stay healthy last year. And then one of your other safety, because you got Petrie now and more at nickel than safety, and your other safety is a third round pick with Bullock. So I'd like to see some consistent play with the safeties because I'm feeling pretty good about the two corners, obviously with Stingley and Kamari Lassiter, but the safeties, they're the last. I don't know if you know this, Sean. They're the last line of defense. So if they're not the deepest of the deepest, that could cause some problems.
That Justin Simmons contract had me flabbergasted.
Yeah, 1 year, $8 million. Like
anybody could have signed him.
Both him and Diggs were.
Yeah, especially for the Texans, crazy. They have over $20 million in cap space.
Yeah,
and they have a need, and we know, and we'll get into this here in a little bit. But we know they were in on Matthew Judon, which would have cost just as much or more. So I don't get
in on him.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. They probably offered significantly less than what the Atlanta Falcons did with the third round pick. But yeah, it's just weird that there's an obvious need there, yet they don't go out and try to make the move and secure one of the few remaining holes on this team.
In Kalen Bullock, we trust.
That's kind of what the Texans are telling us. They seem like they obviously felt comfortable at left guard with Kenyon Green. They didn't really make any moves in the offseason to shore that up. They obviously feel. I mean, obviously they added Bullock to the team, but they're comfortable with the current group as it is. I'm less comfortable with that, but we'll start to see some answers to that as Texans Giants are about to kick off here on ABC. So, Stephon Diggs, we heard a lot of reports this week. I know DJ Bieniemy had some firsthand accounts about how good Stephon Diggs looked, the chemistry with CJ Stroud, and we've spent what feels like 5 years talking about who's going to be the wide receiver one, who's going to be the wide
Who is
receiver
gonna be?
three, who's going to get the most targets, and blah 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 blah. But one of the talking points that's emerged from this Diggs conversation, and if you have any thoughts and want to join in the conversation, definitely give us a call or a text on the HRMP listener line, 713-780-3776. But I'm getting so tired of hearing about, well, if you look from week 10 on, Diggs' production went way down. Yeah, okay, great. Look at his first 9 weeks. It wasn't like the people act because like his production from week 10 to through the end of the season. Oh my, by the way, he had a pretty good game in week 18, so it wasn't like it was the entire rest of the season. But people act like this was a sign that Stephon Diggs, now on the wrong side of 30, has just completely fallen over the hill. But you look at his first half numbers, and he effing great. I mean, look at his first half numbers as I'm pulling it up here. I'll read them through as super quickly as I can. He's 10 for 102, 7 for 66, 8 for 111, 6 for 120, 8 for 121, 10 for 100, 6 for 58, 9 for 70. I mean, 6 for 86. He's great. What changed is Josh Allen throws 1,000 picks. They bring in a new offensive coordinator who probably is looking as like, man, we need to stop hyper targeting one player, focus on the running game, maybe go to the intermediate part of the field more, focus on the tight ends so we can limit some of these turnovers. And that took Stephon Diggs further out of the offense. I think it's intellectually dishonest to say, well, Stephon Diggs fell off from weeks 9 to 10 in his career. I know drop offs can happen for a wide receiver over the age of 30 quickly. They didn't happen from weeks 9 to 10.
Yeah, it's a lot like saying that, hey, the Buffalo Bills started winning games once they stopped throwing to Stephon Diggs, so Texans shouldn't throw to Stephon Diggs. Is a lot like saying the Astros have had the best record in baseball since Kyle Tucker's been hurt. Therefore, they're a better team without Kyle Tucker.
Yeah. It's just, what do you make of this whole thing, Cam? I mean, you're obviously more of a Chargers fan, so a little bit from the outside here. But what do you make of this whole conversation about Stephon Diggs?
When he was with Minnesota, I could have, or yeah, Minnesota, I could have maybe seen him on this list. But what diva stuff is he actually doing these days? Like, he wanted the ball more in Buffalo. I don't think that that's being a diva. That's knowing that you're the number one weapon on that team, and that you can feast with Josh Allen. And then to your point of the stats falling off, yeah, they switched offensive coordinators midway through the season and became a run the ball team, and that's why James Cook had those went from like a top 15 fantasy running back to like a top 5 midway through the season, because they totally switched their philosophy offensively. And then Stephon Diggs comes here, and all you hear out of that locker room is how great of like a leader he is. I think people they just need something to talk about, and because of Diggs' past, they're putting him up number 1. But it's kind of like Brandon Ayuk. Why is he number 2? Because he wants a big contract extension? Isn't that what every athlete wants?
Yeah, so what Cam is referencing, there was a list that came out from I had the source and then I lost it, but it was the top 5 biggest divas in the NFL, and that list in order was Stephon Diggs, Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson, Aaron Rodgers, and George Pickens. Which, I mean, I think the Aaron Rodgers one is really not even worthy of. It doesn't need an explanation. But a lot of the other guys in the list are just guys that either want the ball or want a new contract, which I think everybody in the NFL either wants the ball more or wants a bigger contract. So, yeah, I think people sometimes just get in the players' pockets a little too much for my liking. But let's getting back to Diggs and like this worry about his exit from Buffalo and what it would mean for his time here with the Texans. Like, I get the idea, like, hey, he forced his way out of Minnesota. He forced his way out of Buffalo. Seemingly, he didn't have a good relationship with Sean McDermott or Josh Allen in Buffalo. There are reasons for concern with Stephon Diggs, but it's not the production. Like, that's kind of the part where I cannot accept an argument that, Well, he dropped off because they decided, because of Josh Allen's turnovers, to run the ball more and focus on the middle of the field to the guys like Dalton Kincaid, who they drafted in the first round. So I don't buy the production. If you want to tell me you think he's going to become a problem off the field, maybe whine about targets because Nico and Tank are getting more targets, fine. I guess I could see that argument. I see how that's a possibility. But at the same time, he's on a 1 year deal and he's trying to get another contract. So yeah, I'm really tired of the Diggs diva conversation, and I can't wait for the season to get here so we can start answering some of these questions.
Yeah, I think in 2 weeks, like we stop talking about the change from Ken Dorsey to Joe Brady in
Ugh.
the Bills offense last year. Like I I think once we get the you know the full offenses on the field for a full game, like that's when I think a lot of this kind of goes away.
Well, and it also doesn't help when people see like little clips taken from like practices or scrimmages, and they see Diggs like in somebody's face, and they just automatically assume
Well,
that
see,
he's like griping.
that happened in the second preseason game where they came off the field after the Tank Dell touchdown, and there's a video that came out of Diggs and Stroud talking on the sideline. There's no audio of this. There's no. I mean, I don't buy lip readers.
I know
There's
exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
and then I saw like well over 50% of the people reacting to the video online, like, oh, Diggs is already complaining about not getting. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, one, we don't know what he's saying, but it's clearly from the hand gestures and the way Diggs is talking and the way CJ is responding to him. It clearly looks like Diggs is talking about a look the defense gave him. Is like, hey, if I see this, I'm going to break it off here. Look for me here. That's what they should be doing. But yet, because people are so up in their feelings about Stephon Diggs and the way he ended in Buffalo, it turns into, Stephon Diggs is the biggest diva in the NFL. He's already complaining at Stroud. It's just stop. I'm tired of it.
Yeah,
It's frustrating. I mean, it sucks because it's like I guess technically he painted that picture of himself years past, but like people mature, they grow up. I mean, it the dude's still not even is even in his 30s yet.
Yeah,
Like,
he is.
is he?
He's 31.
Okay, I mean, it people can change, they can mature, and it's just like it's just unfortunate that like he's still getting that label here when nobody here in the Texans locker room or players or anything has come out to reflect that. Like it's the opposite.
yeah,
Like
it's
he's
been
been
the
a
opposite.
veteran. Yeah.
It's been about how great of a leader he is. And listen, even if you want to be the most pessimistic about this, normally year one goes really well.
Yeah,
And
and
he's
that's all
only
he's here for.
like,
Yeah,
like,
because even in Minnesota and Buffalo, where he forced his way out by the
yeah,
end,
Buffalo he played there for 4 years.
year one was fine. Year one was, it was still the honeymoon
First 2
phase.
years were fine.
Yeah, exactly. So
So-
it's, I mean, look, and then that was. I know some people didn't like it, some people did, but I mean that would be why the Texans make the move to convert his salary to basically just a 1 year deal, give him a little bit extra money, but then go ahead and alleviate the problem of the year 3, year 4 with Stephon Diggs, especially as he starts to age. All right, we got to get out on the other side of the break. We'll talk about what's happening in here in this Texans game. Texans defense forces a 3 and out, and Stingley almost gets a pick 6, and now the CJ Stroud is on the move. They picked up a first down, including a completion to Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Diva.
Keeping him happy.
Keeping him happy. Like, hey, yeah, Diggs not squawking now.
Got to feed him early.
All right. Well, on the other side of the break, we'll talk about what's going on in the Texans-Giants game here and the attempted move to bring Matthew Judon to town for the Texans. That and more when the bullpen returns on ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Thunder and lightning.
ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome back into the Bullpen as we come back from break here. Stephon Diggs got another touch. So C.J. Stroud keeping the biggest diva in the NFL happy as they get down towards the goal line, throw a fade pass. Looks like it is out of bounds. That looked like it was targeted to Nico Collins. It was indeed. Nico Collins had a pretty good catch along the sideline right as we were going to break. Broke a couple tackles and picked up more yards. Texans right now in the red zone on their first possession. Starters all in the game, obviously. So a little bit of news from the Texans this week, unexpectedly. I mean, there's obviously some positions. We talked about one of them in the last segment where they could look to add someone. I think a lot of us thought maybe they look to add another left guard to compete with Kenyon Green, maybe add some depth at linebacker, some depth at safety. But after we found out Matthew Judon was traded from the Patriots to the Falcons in exchange for a third-round pick, the pass rusher Matthew Judon, multiple-time Pro Bowler, we found out apparently the Texans were in on it. Now, maybe you guys saw this piece of news and I missed it. I don't know what the Texans' offer was. It seems like the offer was less, obviously, than what the Patriots did with the third rounder. Otherwise, Judon might be in the Texans.
I was going to say.
And I can't imagine them offering as high as a third-round pick for a position where they already feel pretty good at as far as pass rusher. What were your initial thoughts on a team with, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter? You get Danico Autry back in 6 weeks. You feel pretty good about some of your depth with Jerry Hughes and forgetting the guy they brought in off the street.
Derek Barnett.
Yeah, Derek Barnett. You feel pretty good, I think, about your pass rushers, yet the Texans were at least kicking the tires on bringing in Matthew Judon and adding him to the roster. What were your thoughts when you saw that news?
I think that Nick Caserio is in on everybody. Meaning, like, if this player has any interest in him, he's going to call, whether there's a 5% chance of him actually doing it or a 100% chance of him bringing in. I also think it's one of those things where because it was a third-round pick and it was the Falcons and one other team, those obviously, their expectations for those teams were lower than the Texans. So I think obviously for New England, it's like, why would you even trade him to the Texans, who are probably going to be able to give you the 25th pick?
Yeah, you'd have to give them a better round pick because your pick's going to be lower than or worse than the Patriots.
Yeah, or have to give them like a 5th and swap it for like a 6th. So like I think the asking price for the Texans was going to be a little higher. Now, if they were willing to trade him for a 4th, I think that Nick Caserio would have done that all day, every single day. But I think because it was a 3rd, and because the other teams that were in the market too could give you better round picks in that 3rd round or better overall picks in the 3rd round, I think that's kind of what pushed Caserio away from. I mean, not even away from this, just it not happening.
Yeah, I imagine the
price is too high.
Yeah, he was in on it when it was like, a 4th and maybe next year's 6th, and then the Falcons come in with a better offer and they don't match it. So I think it just says more about, again, how, like Cam said, Nick Caserio is just kind of in on everybody, where he's going to be looking for the spots along the margins, especially when we assume that he's offering a way lower price. That when the price was low, he was in on them. Once it got higher, he was out. And that's something, I mean, we talked about Stephon Diggs, where they got Stephon Diggs because they traded out of the 1st round for 2 second-round picks and traded 1 of the second-round picks for Stephon Diggs. So he is going to be creative. He is going to make moves that are I guess, a level deeper than we think, because when they trade out the 1st round, we're like, oh, that's because they're going to pick a defensive tackle and then a cornerback.
Yeah, maybe they don't like the perceived position we thought they were going with the value there, so you'll move back to another position. And nope, that wasn't it.
Nope, a week later they trade for Stephon Diggs. And then you think, oh, they got him for 3 years, so he's cost controlled. He's going to, oh, nope, they just dropped him.
Same thing with Joe Mixon. They get him like, oh, great, he's only got 1 year left. They're just going to ride his old legs to the finish line. Like, oh, no, they actually extended him.
Yeah, so I think that there is a little bit of, we only ever see, I mean, this is true for all front offices and all teams, but especially with the Texans, that we're only seeing like a small sliver of what their plans are, especially when it's moves that don't happen. Like it's hard to prove like the A to prove what they're offering, B what their plan was. Okay, say they do make the deal for Matt Judon. What was their idea with was it just going to be a 4 down like a a rush front on third and longs of Judon, Anderson, Hunter and Autry when he comes back? Like
Oof,
is that
man,
that could work? And
that
then
gives
on
me pants to
and then
think about that.
the other 2 downs are when it's not obvious passing situations. You just pick 2 out of 3 and you keep them all fresh. And obviously, we doubt that they would probably give Judon an extension. But
No, I don't
again,
think so.
you'd probably
You
doubt
never
that-
know. You never know with Nick
you would,
Caserio.
you would have doubted that they give Joe Mixon an extension. So
Yeah.
it's interesting, and I think in general, I like the fact they're in on it just because it speaks to their aggression and the fact they are gonna turn over different rocks to, hey, if this is a cheap way to improve this team, let's make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, not to state the super obvious thing that
No,
was a
please
part
don't.
of the conversation when they added Diggs. Thank you, Sean, for the permission to state the super obvious thing. But CJ Stroud's on the rookie contract, so you have this window over the next 2 to 3 seasons where you can make super aggressive moves and push the salary cap to its limit. Although they still got 20 million on the books or room on the books
To the limit.
to the limit. Yeah, like the Jags lady said. Because you have that window right now to do it. It is interesting because I think a lot of the reaction when it came out, I'll speak for my own host on the Killer Bees, that was their reaction. Like, why would you make this move? Are you not telling us something about Will Anderson's ankle injury? Why would you look to add another pass rusher when you already have Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, and Danico Autry, plus Barnett and Jerry Hughes? But I think you hit on something important there, Sean. One, you can have those sub pass rush formations where you maybe move Daniil Hunter and Danico Autry inside and have Will Anderson and Judon on the edge. And holy crap, good luck to the other team on the field trying to block those 4 guys. But let's also be real about it. I mean, Daniil Hunter's he's not old, but he's getting up there a little bit. Will Anderson has had some injury problems. And no one, especially, there is a pick 6 for the Houston Texans, touchdown, about to be 7-0.
That was a horrible throw.
Oh, Jalen Petrie looks like he caught it. There was some pressure on Daniel Jones, forced him to a bad throw as he was backing up into the end zone, and Jalen Petrie stepped in front and took it to the house.
And that's a good sign right there because they're using Petrie.
It's a good sign that they had a pick 6.
Yeah, yes,
We got
but
breaking news, Johnny.
I'm more because it's Petrie, because they're using him like they did in Baylor, where they're keeping him closer to the box instead of like playing center field and trying to take all these gambles.
That's way more of his strength.
This is Petrie's strength right here. So like, what an
up
exceptional
front
start.
by the line, read and react. I
Also,
agree with that.
Daniel Jones has been itching to throw an interception since the first drive.
Yeah,
But also,
so the new beard didn't help. I mean, it had Kay Adams all flustered trying to talk to him with his new sexy beard, but it didn't seem to bother the Texans.
I think most of the throws I've seen Daniel Jones throw this game have been heavily contested.
Yeah. Well, yes, we talked about earlier. Stingley
Almost
dropped
like it
the
was
pick.
thrown too Stingley.
Yeah, it was thrown. Like he did have to slightly step in front, but yeah, basically, I mean, if Stingley doesn't drop it, there's a pick 6 on the first drive as well. So Daniel Jones off to a great start. If you watch the Hard Knocks, the offseason Hard Knocks with the Giants, I mean, they're trying to tell you they like Daniel Jones, but if you watch that show, they didn't really want to still be here with Daniel Jones. They're just kind of stuck there because of the contract they gave him. But yeah, I don't even remember where we were at with Matthew Judon.
And to the point and to Judon too, I think a big piece of that was the fact that he hit 1 year left on your contract. Like, you just gave up a 2nd-round pick for Diggs and converted it to a 1-year contract. So I think the fact that you were going to have to give up a 3rd for a guy that you might not bring back after giving up a 2nd for a guy that you might not bring back, I think that's just a high asking price. If Judon had 2 years left on his contract.
Well, it's a high asking price when you're strengthening a strength and not fixing a weakness.
Yeah.
Like, if this was fixing a weakness somewhere where they didn't have a lot of good players, I think, pardon me, I think Nick Caserio would have made this move. But yeah, spending a 3rd to strengthen the strength, even though I think it makes sense because, I mean, 1, you have the sub packages where you could put all 4 of them on the field, and 2, I mean, We've seen Will Anderson get hurt towards the end of last year. Danielle Hunter's not the youngest guy in the league, and guys don't play 100% of play. So there's gonna be and Danico Autry's out for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So there would have been, had they made the move, plenty of opportunity to put Matthew Judon on the
Yeah,
field.
and not to mention Judon missed 13 games last year. He got hurt in like game 4, so it's not like he's 100%. I mean, he might be now, but obviously last year he got hurt and missed the majority of the season. So
Yeah, I think it also shows that, I mean, we mentioned the fact that the Falcons signed Justin Simmons,
Justin
and
Simmons, yeah.
the Titans signed Quandre Diggs, and those are both free agents that you would thought the Texans would be in on, just looking at the depth chart and be like, oh, that spot looks a little light,
A little weak, yeah.
why don't they sign someone there? And I think this kind of doubles down on what we saw this offseason, that D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio especially value and put a big emphasis on pass rushers and that front seven. And that is how they are looking to build this defense. So if you are going to build depth at one position, or to overload one position group with talent, it looks like D'Amico Ryans wants to allocate those chips in the front seven.
it's the D line and cornerbacks. It's like you can never have too many good D line and cornerbacks.
And to Sean's point, D'Amico told us that when the offseason started.
Yeah.
Like his exit press conference after the second round playoff loss to the Ravens, like the big thing he hit on is like, we have to add to the defensive front. That's where I want us to be at our best, which I think it's fairly obvious when you think about it. He was a linebacker. He relied on a badass defensive lineman, holding up blocks and creating lanes for him to run through and make plays. So I think that's where D'Amico wants to put their money. That's what they want to allocate their most resources. And so far, we'll see when Danico Autry gets back, but I think the early returns have been that looks like a pretty successful strategy for the Texans.
Yeah, and you also look at what the San Francisco defense.
Yeah, that's what they did.
Yeah, it is more, and I guess it's, you never know what how much a defensive coordinator has say in how John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, because I think he has a voice and stuff too there. How they want to build the team. You don't know if that's really what D'Amico Ryans wanted, and it looks like, that was D'Amico Ryans, or at least D'Amico Ryans also subscribes to that philosophy.
Yeah, that's the way he wants to build his defenses. All right, we got to get out on the other side of the break. We'll keep track of, obviously, Texans Giants as it goes along. Motor Singletary just picked up a big 10-yard run with the Texans first team defense still on the field.
Devin Singletary, do you think he got booed or standing ovation?
713-780-3776. Would you boo Devin Singletary when he faces the Houston Texans? All right, but when we get back, we will keep track of this. Still have a few more comments here and there along the way, but we got to get into the Astros with another loss to the Chicago White Sox, and the death maybe, or just slept wrong for Alex Bregman. I don't know what's going on with him, but that and more with the Bullpen returns. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
Broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, it's the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. So a little bit of update on the Texans before we get into the Astros. We thought, because, I read reports of it this morning that Joe Mixon was going to play. Turns out Joe Mixon, Sean, he's in what? What was the language that we're using for Joe Mixon as far as what he is wearing? What is his attire right now?
According to Cole Thompson, DJ Biname, and Cody Stoops, he is in street clothes.
And Aaron Wilson.
Aaron Wilson did not say
he didn't say street clothes. Everyone else is saying street clothes. So, yeah, it was because earlier just, you don't see every second of the game while you're trying to also do a radio show. But I noticed Damian Pearson. I noticed Dar A.N. Didn't know it was Joe Mixon. Turns out, Sean said he's in street clothes and not playing. So we'll have to continue to monitor the situation with Joe Mixon. Obviously, he's missed most of training camp. We thought he was making his debut today. Now, I will say there's no reason to play a 28-year-old running back in preseason, but it is notable that if they were telling us he was healthy enough to play and he was going to play and then he doesn't, just something to watch is all I'm saying. As the first team defense still on the field right now, Texans leading 7-0. Giants with a 3rd and 2 and trusting, of course, Daniel Jones to get the job done. We'll see how that goes for them. So the Astros lose the baseball game last night. Giants do not pick up the first down unless they get the forward progress there with the whistle. We'll see. But, yeah, it looks like Motor Singletary picked it up. Damn. All right, so Astros lose the baseball game last night to Chicago White Sox. They did it again. Well, if you remember, I think it was back in June, the Astros went to Chicago, and the Astros, again, to the worst team in baseball, an historically terrible team. Might go down as the worst team ever in baseball as far as their win-loss record. They also dropped the first game of that series. Astros made a run of it after going down 4-1. Jake Myers hits a 2-run bomb. End up getting within 1 run, but do not come through with the win. So, overall, it doesn't really matter. The Mariners and Rangers both lost, so the Astros still retain their 3-game lead. But it just feels like in a season where there's been a lot of down in the up and downs, although they were coming off an 8-game winning streak. Whenever there's the down right now, it's easy for my PTSD to slip in. It's like, oh God. It's like the GIF we see from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, like, all bleep, here we go again. So I'm not saying that's the case, but there's a momentary moment in my head where I'm like, oh, God, we're losing to the White Sox again?
Yeah, there's a little bit of going in on an 8-game win streak and
feeling invincible.
Coming home, having the White Sox in town, that you think, oh, okay.
Yeah, you just swept the Red Sox and the Rays, and now you got the White Sox at home. Let's go. And they lost.
Yeah, and then once they go down, I think they pretty immediately
they were down like 4-1 pretty quick.
And that's when you're like, actually, there's nothing more poetic than the Houston Astros having a 8-game road winning streak and then coming to Houston and immediately losing to the worst team in baseball.
On the same day of what, Sean?
On the same day
of news that they were repainting the batter's eye. We got batter's eye talk again. And it looks like Daniel Jones just threw another interception, which Johnny knows what my worst person in sports is. This going to make this even more funnier.
Yeah,
John.
is that young Stingley?
Sure. I didn't see who it was. It is 24. That is Derek Stingley.
Wow.
Yeah. So Stingley had the near pick six on the first drive of the game where he stepped in front of a pass. I don't even know who it was intended to.
Daniel Jones sucks.
Well, that is a bold take,
He is just so bad.
We promised overreactions. There's one for you.
Yeah, look at that throw. Like,
hey, John, finding the Defensive Player of the Year odds for Derek Stingley, because we're going to place a wager today at the end of the show. Derek Stingley obviously going to win Defensive Player of the Year. Overreactions, baby. He's on pace right now. Well, actually for 0, but
yeah, I was gonna say
him and Petrie are gonna be fighting over it. Yeah.
On pace for 17 interceptions.
So yeah, that's right, man. He almost had a pick six on that first drive. Derek Stingley, I do think, and we'll get back to the Astros in a second. The whole like, oh my God, you didn't take Sauce Gardner conversation. That is, if it hasn't already faded away, because I don't think it has completely. But that's going to become more and more of a thing that we just don't talk about, because Derek Stingley, obviously, I think it was 5 picks last year, looked great. I thought in his first preseason action last week, even though he was only in for a series or 2, the way he shadowed guys and stuck with them looked, top, amazing. And then obviously a near pick six and interception there. Derek Stingley is going to be amazing.
It was easy to say Gardner was argue that Gardner was the better pick when they
Well, he
first got
was
drafted
year one.
because one, Stingley was hurt, and two, he was playing for a shambles of a Texans team that weren't using him right
But-
in the secondary. Now D'Amico comes over, and look what has happened. So, yeah, I'm over
sorry,
this
Cam.
whole comparison.
What's up, Johnny?
I'm sorry, Cam. I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
Oh, did you?
Plus 15,000 is the odds for
Plus
Stingley.
15,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got a little show back here.
I mean, I'll put money
Wow.
on that.
We're going to take a trip out to Lake Charles soon.
I
You guys are going end of August, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe a little show bet on Derek Stingley.
Yeah,
Get some
just-
Defensive Player of the Year
Hey,
action.
Send me the money. I'll take good care of it.
When
All
was
right.
the last time a secondary player won?
I bet I would guess Darrell
Oh.
Revis maybe.
No, there's one a couple years ago. I think Stephon Gilmore won it.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, did Trayvon Diggs win it the year he had like 8 interceptions?
No, because he also gave up a horrendous amount of
Yeah,
yards.
he was-
Okay.
Roasted.
I'm just trying to think
Like
of.
the third most.
I would have guessed the guy like Ed Reed might have won one. I'm trying to think of other guys that could have won one in the secondary.
Yeah, Stephon Gilmore won in 2019.
He
With
won
New England?
2019. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the
Yes,
most
with no-
recent. All right, Derek Stingley plus 15,000. I think we're definitely going to get some
Yeah.
action in on that.
May-
So
maybe we go to Neil Hunter.
yes, a little sprinkle of
Looking-
Daniil Hunter.
Looking through the years, it's a lot of defensive ends.
It's a lot of sacks. Sacks are definitely sexy.
it's like the same thing with MVP. It's
Yeah.
always
It's a quarterback award.
Quarterback.
Basically, defensive ends and Aaron Donald for the last 10 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And even one of the quote unquote defensive ends in there, J.J. Watt, was mostly an interior pass rusher too. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, but getting back to the Houston Astros, so they lose last night to the Chicago White Sox as the Texans take over literally on their 1 yard line. Looks
Shadows
like
of their goalpost.
starting offense. I see C.J. Stroud out there. They get nothing in the run game. You know what? Let's push the Astros off a little bit more. This run game, because there's a topic I had earlier in the show that we didn't get to, but I kind of want to get to it because it's one of my things. This run game is something that concerns me a little bit. So I asked the question, and that's certainly one of the options you can pick. Of all the reasons we hear about why the Texans could take a step back and maybe miss the playoffs or just have a lesser season than we were expecting, which one of the reasons you've heard rings most true? Like the Joe Mixon running game concerns, tougher division, the Titans get Calvin Ridley, year 2 for Levis, of the Anthony Richardson coming back. The questions on the secondary, obviously they didn't sign Justin Simmons. We don't know what they have there. The tougher schedule or a Stroud sophomore slump or anything else you've heard of any of the reasons you've heard why people think the Texans could take a step back. What rings most true to you?
I think honestly I'm a big running game. It's like it.
You're an established guy. I've known this about you.
Yeah, but
You're an
a
old
lot of
soul,
times, a lot of times,
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
when you have CJ Stroud and the receivers they have, maybe you should just throw it more if you can't run it.
You know what it's like? It's kind of like what the Astros do for pitchers as we continue to blend the Texans and the Astros together. That's pro work there. I can see Cam appreciates it.
Yeah.
Johnny definitely appreciates it. But
Localizing it.
when the Astros get in the pitcher, they did it just recently with Yusei Kikuchi, but they one of the ways they've turned around these pitchers is they look at their repertoire, what's working, what's not, and like that pitch sucks, stop throwing it. That pitch is good, throw it more. And that's what they did with Kikuchi. They're like, hey, that curveball to righties, terrible. Change up, great. Start throwing the change up more, and all of a sudden he's good. And it kind of feels what some of what we're talking about with the Texans, where okay, if the running game sucks, all right, well you got C.J. Stroud and Diggs and Nico and Tank and Dalton Schultz. Hell, we even liked the second and third tight ends, I think, with Brevin Jordan and Cade Stover. Just throw the ball.
Yeah, I think
Noah Brown when he comes back.
I think there's going to be a lot of games where they try to establish it, and then in the second half, they're like, when it's a close game, they're like, all right, enough establishing it. Let's actually.
We tried to be high T, but you know what? Let's just throw the rock around.
That's why I mean, for which to get back to the question, which ones it could be the reason, or what could be
what
the
rings
reason.
most true?
I think honestly, and it's not like a very fun one, but it is a tough schedule of just they already were at such thin margins last year to get to 10 wins and win the division that when you add in the fact how much harder this schedule is going to be, and well, I guess this is kind of taking two of them, but the quarterbacks that they're going to play especially.
Yeah, you got Burrow. Well, you had Burrow last year, but
the combination of the quarterbacks that you're playing plus the questions about the secondary, and late in the season you're really not getting not even late in the season. Once October comes around, you're really not getting much of a, oh, okay, good, we're playing this guy.
Yeah, like
As
the first half of the schedule,
it's all young quarterbacks for the
right.
most
But then
part.
when you look over the second half, I know there's like a 3 week stretch where they face, I believe it's the Chiefs, the Dolphins, and the Ravens all in like one go. But yeah, the schedule it really does set up to where the Texans need to be off to a good start to the season. Otherwise, things get a little bit dicey because once the calendar once you get to Halloween,
Yeah, Halloween's when
starting with Week 9, you have Aaron Rodgers, you have Jared Goff, but the Lions are good. Dak Prescott. Then you get a little bit of a break with the Titans and the Jaguars. You hit your bye and come out of it with Dolphins, Chiefs, Ravens.
yeah.
Like they really need to be not that any of those other than at Chiefs. I'm not going to say any of those games is definitely a loss, but I do think if they go into that stretch of games and they're just like 1 or 2 games above 500, then we might need to be a little bit worried.
And it's a situation where they're really dependent on Caden Bullock to be good.
Yeah, they are
for that stretch.
Yeah, because you don't sign Justin Simmons, and that's pretty much. I mean, Bullock was really the only move to strengthen a secondary or a safety group that had some question marks.
Yeah, Lassiter and Bullock, so 2 day 2 picks.
Yeah,
I think it's the schedule for me too. I mean, I know that this current running back depth chart has some concerns for people, but for me, technically, you got better running back wise than you did last year. Like I would much rather have Joe Mixon, Damian Pierce, and Cam Akers over Singletary, Pierce, and Duare. Like any day of the week. And like you don't have to have a great run game with the fact that you have CJ Stroud. Like if you can just have a slightly above average run game, even just a smidge better than last year, especially with the addition of Diggs, like I don't see how anything on the offense would hinder this team. I think I'm with y'all. It's more the schedule and the quarterbacks that they have to play this year that is going to be the biggest obstacle.
I mean, to that point you just made, Cam, about you don't have to have a great running game to win. I mean, the Chiefs. Post Kareem Hunt, what's been their great? I mean, Isaiah Pacheco was pretty good last year, but they haven't had a great running game, especially 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. When the Rams won the Super Bowl, that was post Todd Gurley. They didn't have a great, dominant lead running back. I mean, it's just not something in today's NFL that you have to have.
Shoot for average.
Shoot for it really it almost kind of leans into what like a lot of people do in fantasy football, but the zero RB approach. It's like just load up, and then if you have decent at the running back position, like last year, like Devin Singletary was decent enough, and they got to the second round of the playoffs. So that's really all you need at the running back position. It's nice to have the guys like a Breece Hall or a Christian McCaffrey or Bijan Hookham, but you don't have to have those guys to win big. So we got to get out on the other side of the break. We will get maybe into a little more Astros. I don't know. This might just turn into a mostly Texans show until the second half when we get into some of the more fun stuff. But the bullpen will return in 3 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Welcome back into the Bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. If you want to join in the conversation, give us a call or text at 713-780-3776 on the HRMP listener line, or you can hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Sack by BMAC. Cam's at Clutch City Cam. Sean Mapes is at Sean A. Mapes. And Johnny Belmer behind the glasses on Twitter at Third Coast Johnny. So getting into some Astros as the Texans start to put in the backups. We've already seen Case Keenum get into the game. So it seems like all the starters will now be removed as they get into the second quarter, which before we get to the Astros, Sean, I don't know what's happened to our game. Like, men used to play this game, and now they're leaving after the first quarter.
I thought this was the dress rehearsal game. I thought third preseason
Don't
game.
shake your head at me, John
Dress
Belmer. I
rehearsal.
saw that dismissive look. Men used to play this game.
You sound like get off my lawn. Like that was my initial reaction. That's why I rolled my eyes and shook my head
Aaron
at you.
Foster used to play into
Terrible.
the third quarter of these preseason.
Who cares?
Matt
Used to.
Schaub
Who cares?
bled, sweat, shed tears on the gridiron for 3 quarters in the dress rehearsal, and now CJ is only going to come out for 1 quarter.
Maybe
Maybe-
that's why he fell off a cliff. You know?
They're being unselfish and letting the backups play. Have you thought about
I'm
it
just
that
gonna say
way?
this. I'm just going to say this. If the Texans have a bad season, remember today.
Wow.
If the timing's not there week 1, remember today.
Perfect practice makes perfect.
Damn right. Damn right.
Time to talk about the Astros.
Practice makes perfect. You know who's not practicing right now? Alex Bregman.
No,
Good
he's
segue.
not.
That's professional work.
No.
Johnny approves. You like that? See, Johnny's back on my side
This,
now. So
this entire segment's been very professional. I'd say.
So Alex Bregman, we get the news right at the end of y'all's show, and like right before our show starts, says like, oh, he's got some swelling in his elbow. He's going to miss the game. At least sounds like miss the weekend. He's going to address the media. And we're all wondering like, I don't remember seeing anything happening in the game. Like what happened? He's on fire. It's obviously not affecting his performance. Like what happened? Turns out, if you believe him, and obviously because it's the Astros and they lie to us every day, that you have to take everything they tell us with a grain of salt, even though I will say this at least came from Alex Bregman directly. But it turns out, if you believe the story, Alex Bregman slept on it wrong. And it's been bothering him for a few days. So they got an MRI, no structural damage, and he will miss this weekend series and be back soon after that. I guess the first question we have to ask is, do you buy any of it? Because I think at the start of June, they told us, yeah, Kyle Tucker's going to miss a few days. And it's been 2.5 months.
Yeah.
And he's not even close to a rehab assignment yet. So I guess the first question, do you buy any of this with the story with Alex Bregman?
No, not really. I mean, he might have slept on it wrong.
Yeah, and Jeremy kind of nitpicked, and I got where he came from. That like anytime you have any soreness, like if you're a team, obviously you can afford it. You're not a regular Joe Blow in the street. Just get the MRI. Like there's no reason to not take the precaution and get the imaging done. But at the same time, when I read this report, like, and I put it in the perspective of like what I would do as a regular guy. Like if I sleep on my elbow, if I sleep wrong and my elbow is a little sore when I wake up, my first thought is, let's go get an MRI to see if I did any structural damage. It doesn't pass the smell test to say, yeah, I slept on it wrong, and I'm so worried about my arm being sore from sleeping on it wrong that I'm going to go get an MRI to check for structural damage.
Yeah, I think it's more likely that there wasn't like a single throw or a single swing of the bat that caused it. That just sometime probably definitely after the last Tampa game, either on their day off or Friday morning, there's some pain there or something, some swelling, some soreness, where there wasn't a inciting incident that they could point to, and so they just went with slept on it wrong. But then that just leads me, and this is probably part of the reason why Brian McTaggart and Chandler Rome get to ask the questions and I don't. But I would be like, so what day did you sleep on it wrong?
Yeah.
Was it this morning or was it Thursday morning when they didn't have a game? I just
Because with the Astros, you do have to pin them down.
Well, also if if you're missing a game because you slept on it wrong, that means you slept on it wrong and it's still affecting you. Probably 12 hours after you woke up.
Yeah, because okay,
you wake up at
I think,
8 o'clock. You have a game at 7.
I think we've all, I mean, me more so than others because I'm 40, but I think we all have, got up in the morning like, I slept on the wrong, my back's a little sore, my neck's a little sore, maybe, the pillow was at the wrong angle, but it goes away over the course of the day. And again, like to Sean, to your point, to what I was saying earlier, like, one, if you believe the story, because he says it happened like a few days ago. He didn't specify the day, but it was like I think he said 3 days ago, something like that. One, you would have thought, okay, well that would go away by now.
Yeah.
And two, if you believe that it was from sleep, if that is legitimately what happened, like what would be the rush to get an MRI for structural damage? Like what structural damage are you going to do in your sleep?
Yeah.
You might make it sore. You're not doing structural damage.
That's why when I first heard this, I chuckled because I was like, there's no way he heard it while he's sleeping. He had to have agitated it before. I will say, I can see where sleeping on it wrong further agitated and made it worse. And I say that because a few years ago, I fractured my elbow in a boxing incident. I didn't know that I had.
Look at this guy.
I didn't
we
know.
got a hardo drop. Yeah, just a humble brag.
Let me
hey
rephrase
guys,
that.
my elbow's a little sore. I was beating this guy's ass in a boxing
No,
match.
because
I hit the old 1-2 and
when I finish telling the story, you won't think that I'm a hardo. It was one of those boxing, the boxing games that drops down.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you're drunk. You're not a hardo. You're
No,
just drunk.
the machine didn't recoil. So when I slugged it,
Oh,
it
like
didn't recoil.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
But
all the okay.
Yes, I had been out drinking for my birthday, so my pain tolerance and
no
all
one
that,
uses one of those machines sober.
all that adrenaline, I didn't like it stung. I didn't know that I had damaged my arm, but I went home. I probably slept on it wrong, and the next morning my arm was locked in an L. Obviously, I went to the hospital, found out that I had 2 fractures and a dislocation. But I can see how sleeping on your arm after you hurt it can further damage something. But I still don't think that he hurt it while sleeping. So
Cam, you hit on something that I think is the answer. Oh, you didn't exactly
The
say it, but
punching bag. Oh.
well, yes, but one lesson is don't punch those punching bags at the arcades. It's a bad.
Oh,
it's a bad
I won't walk near them now. It's
Okay.
it's like the same thing. I like my loathing of clowns. I loathe those machines.
Okay, those are two very separate things. We will
Wow.
let's get more to that later. Maybe at 1:15. We gotta ask you about your clown phobia. But I think what probably happened here. Cam was shaking when I mentioned clowns. Pennywise.
I don't like them. It took me until I was 27 to watch it.
Okay, soft boy.
Interesting.
All right, Cam
Interesting.
Smith. So what I think happened here is, as Sean was mentioning, like there might have been, like they couldn't pinpoint it, but there might have been a throw or a swing that agitated the elbow. It wasn't necessarily that he slept on it wrong, but we've all done things like whether it be working out or maybe moving some furniture, something where you do something like, man, I'm going to feel that in the morning. Like once you go to sleep, once the body rests, you don't have the endorphins or whatever going, the adrenaline going, that you're going to be sore when you wake up. That's what I think happened. To exactly what you said happened to you, Cam. Like you didn't feel it in the moment, or at least didn't feel it to the point of going to the hospital.
Yep.
But once you woke up,
I
that's
knew
when it
something
hurt.
was very
I think
wrong.
that's probably what happened with Alex Bregman. So it's kind of a partial lie. He gave us part of the truth, but he didn't give us the full truth, which is very on par for the Astros. I think something agitated his elbow with a swing or a throw. He may have felt it a little bit, but thought nothing of it. Woke up, and all of a sudden it was more sore.
Because didn't we have another bed injury with Javier?
Well, Javier woke up with yeah, you're right. Javier, and this is why you can't trust the Astros, because when Javier, I guess this is back in May, Javier woke up with a sore neck from bad pillows in a hotel. Like that's kind of the story we got. And it turns out like 2 weeks later needs Tommy John. Somehow the sore neck from pillows in a hotel turned into UCL damage in his elbow.
They're gonna come out with like some conspiracy that road team hotels are like doing stuff to the pillows to our players because that's where they're getting hurt. Bregman was on the road and Javier was on the road, so something about these hotels, man.
I don't know. It doesn't work. It doesn't affect Jordan. He's Babe Ruth on the road. Have you seen his home road splits?
Good point.
So I don't know. It's
Bring your own pillow on the road trip.
Maybe he sleeps in a chair.
okay.
Doesn't even take the risk. Just just chills in the chair.
Think Jordan sleeps in the chair?
He's
That
like, I don't-
giant of a man.
He's like, I don't
He's like
trust.
6'5", 250.
I don't
he
trust
sleeps in
these.
a chair?
I don't trust these beds.
What type of chair? Hold on. You've been in hotel rooms before, right, Cam?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever been to a hotel room where it has like the courtesy chair next to the bed, where it was actually a legitimate size where you could actually sleep in? There's no way a man the size. You know what I mean, though.
Well, I'm also 5'6", so I can pretty much sleep in any chair.
But those chairs in the hotel are always like the tiny
Open
little
up a cabinet. He can sleep in there.
Yeah, like he's a dwarf from.
Or like that Michael Scott episode where he sleeps on that little.
I can imagine someone knocks it. Cam trying to get up and he's like slide out the drawer. But those chairs are tiny in a hotel.
They are
like
small.
you can't even get your arms down because they're so like they're like that one. They usually don't even have armrests. They just have like that half one that kind of rolls around, so there's nowhere to put your arms. There's obviously no recliner to it. The back for to rest your head on it's too short. There's no way Jordan can sleep in those chairs.
That's a good point. I don't know. It's weird how I have never. I mean, I've heard of some weird injuries, like Hunter Pence when he walked through the glass sliding thing in his bathroom. Like that's one thing.
I think he was going out to a hot tub.
I think
because he's a baller.
There was definitely a lady with him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was partying with some ladies and trying to get out quick to the hot tub.
So he always hustled.
Yeah, he was definitely hustling.
Real hustler. So I can see that. But the fact that there's two
But hey, the clock might have been ticking.
injuries,
You don't know. I don't blame Hunter Pence. All right, we got to get out before we get in trouble here. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. When we get back, it's time for the hype train. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
It is time to get hyped on ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome in to the NFL Hype Train, where we look at some of the reports telling us about people's being the greatest shape of their life, how they're ahead of schedule, and we ask each other, do we buy into the hype? So first one on deck, Evan Ingram, headline. He impresses, guys, in joint practices. Evan Ingram was a standout during Jacksonville's final joint practice with the Buccaneers on Thursday. Zach Goodall of USA Today reports. Apparently he had a really good connection with Trevor Lawrence during the practice and had his way. And look, Ingram's an interesting case for fantasy football because obviously he's behind, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta, the big group of tight ends, probably a few more. But Evan Ingram, 114 catches last year. Like, I mean, where are you guys? Are you buying in on Evan Ingram being a target for you this year in fantasy, or are you looking to either get one of the big dogs ahead of him or punt the position?
No, I mean, honestly, in all my mock drafts, I have been targeting Ingram in like the 6th or 7th round. Like I'm very much on the Ingram hype train. The fact that he had 114 catches last year is like astonishing, especially if you have him in like a PPR league and there's no more Calvin Ridley. My boy Christian Kirk can't stay healthy. Like Ingram could have a 1,000-yard season, I think, this year.
Yeah, I mean, here was the weird thing though, because obviously 114 catches, amazing. But I don't know if I've seen many guys that have 114 catches and under 1,000 yards. And he also only had 4 touchdowns.
I was gonna point that out.
He's obviously, if you're not in a full PPR, like I like Ingram. I have him on my dynasty team, which is a full PPR. But if it's not full PPR, I'm like, I'm gonna either go for one of the big guys in front of him, or I'm just gonna bypass those middle tight ends and wait and punt the position. Where are you at, Sean?
Yeah, I'm with you where I just want touchdowns. Give me touchdowns. If I'm not gonna have one of the big dogs at the position, I just want to get lucky on a week where you catch a pass and it just so happens to be in the end zone. Evan Ingram doesn't really do that enough for me.
So you're not jumping on?
I am not on the hype train.
He's getting off the train.
Fine, I want him anyways.
Cam
Guys,
is on the hype train.
Believe the hype.
All right, so another tight end. Let's talk about someone who second half of the season came out of nowhere. Like second-year player Trey McBride, tight end for the Cardinals. Rookie year really didn't do much. First half of the season didn't do really much. But starting in week 8, he had a game where he had 10 catches for 95. If you look at some of his games, falling after that, especially obviously once Kyler Murray got back. I mean, week 10, he's 8 for 131. Week 12, he's 7 for 60, 8 for 89, 10 for 102. Week 16 and 17, 6 catches each. Trey McBride is someone who took a big step forward. He was the first tight end drafted, I'm pretty sure, in his draft class 2 years ago. And I didn't think this was necessarily news, but the reporting, Jeremy Clough of the Arizona Republic reports that Trey McBride is the number 1 of the depth chart. I think McBride showed the ability in the second half of the season, and he's attached to a quarterback good enough to put him in like top 5 tight end territory. But now they had Marvin Harrison Jr. So, I mean, you have to ask the question, like, when McBride went off, was it because he was the only weapon there? And is he going to drop off that now Marvin Harrison is there? Where are you guys at with Trey McBride? You buying the hype? You jumping in because his ADP is like top 5. Are you willing to pay that price? Or are you selling on that?
It's a tricky one because he played with Kyler in the beginning of the year and didn't do much. Then Kyler got hurt. Trey did some work. And then when Kyler came back, or towards the end of the year, Trey obviously like exploded. So it was a really weird like season to get a read on Trey. But outside of Marvin Harrison, there is no other real receiving threat. I mean,
How
I know.
dare you disrespect the Dortch?
Yeah, exactly.
Michael Wilson.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you for validating my point. So I am on the hype train.
That does sound very convincing. This is hype segment, bro.
Okay.
More confidence.
I'm on the hype train for Trey McBride, but I honestly still feel like Evan Ingram will have a better fantasy year.
Man,
But I'm still on trade.
is Evan Ingram a family member? Man, you were really in on Evan Ingram.
Those 114 catches for
They
me.
got you hot and bothered.
They in a PPR league, it really enticed me.
Sean, where you at with Trey McBride?
I'm not on the hype train for Trey
He's
McBride.
getting off the train.
I think he's a good player, but at the price, that's where
that's
I'm at.
like I fully expect the breakout to continue, but I'm not paying like 4th, 5th round prices for a tight end that's done it for half a season.
I was gonna say off of 5 good games
with the unknown of where his amount of targets go now that Marvin Harrison's returned.
That's why I kind of need some clarity on what exactly is the level of like hype. Like, do I think Trey is gonna have the
level of hype
season?
is you're having to pay top 5 tight end prices.
Okay,
for
then
a guy that's done half a season.
No, I was like on the hype train to say that he was going to have a good year and be like a 7th or 8th ranked tight end.
Yeah,
but if you're talking top 5,
7th or 8th tight end doesn't even matter. I mean, that's part of the problem with tight end because I mean the position scores so few points to begin with Like when you look at the guys that are in the seventh and eighth tight end range, I'll try to pull up some names here in a second. But when you look at guys that are in that range, seventh and eighth tight ends, they're not guys. Even though they rank that way for the season, that when you look at their like week to week, they're not guys that really do much for you week to week with the consistency that you would want. So
like Goddard and
yeah.
Dalton
So okay,
Schultz.
it's pulling up for me right now. Right, last year the tight end 7. Oh, actually, it was Trey McBride, and we just indicated half his season was garbage. He came on the second half of the year. Tight end number 8, Cole Kmet. Tight end 9 was, in my update, I think it was Jake Ferguson. But like, who was excited about Cole Kmet other than Joe George and Jake Ferguson on your team last year at the tight end position? Like, once you get past tight end 5, I mean, it doesn't. That's kind of the question. Like, you have to either spend a really big pick on tight end or just back away and punt it, because the guys in the middle and late aren't worth anything.
Well, then I guess knowing that, I guess technically I would have to be off the Trey McBride hype train, because I don't think he's going to be top 5.
All right, so let's get back into it. Next up here on the hype train, we got Johnny Bellman. You have any thoughts on this? I didn't mean to skip past you completely.
No, that's okay.
Okay, all right.
he's just playing the draft.
He's just playing.
I don't have any comments on 8th or 9th tight end.
Good for John.
That's a little bit of commentary in the segment. John Bellman not buying the hype. I didn't like that. You got to up your juice, bro.
He's off the hype train.
He's off the hype
Of
train.
this
Wow. All right, so Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks of the Dallas Cowboys, formerly of half the leagues of the team. Headline, having a strong camp. I don't know what that means, but he's having a strong camp, Sean. Apparently, Cooks continues to show excellent chemistry with Dak Prescott during training camp. Joe Makata and Sad Youssef of The Athletic report, like, the Cowboys added nothing, to their offense. Obviously, Tony Pollard walks out the door. They don't add anybody significant at wide receiver, at tight end. I mean, we all think CeeDee Lamb's going to return and be obviously the alpha of the offense, but I mean, off a season last year where Brandon Cooks has 8 touchdowns, is there any excitement there that maybe Brandon Cooks has some of that old Foreman left him and maybe kind of picks up the vacated targets, the empty space, and has a relevant season?
I'm very hesitantly going to be on the hype train. The rare hesitant hype train entry, because a pessimist, you could say, well, of course he's having a good camp. CeeDee Lamb's not there. Who else?
Who else they gonna throw to? Yeah.
I say, is he not building chemistry with Dak Prescott that can carry on into the season as CeeDee Lamb is going to get doubled and tripled?
He's the wily veteran now.
Quadruple team, because there's no one else on the Cowboys. I think there's a chance to that Brandon Cooks can have a pretty good season this year. Maybe not the same touchdown.
Yeah, 8 touchdowns was unexpected last year.
Yeah, but maybe more of a safety valve type, more heavier receptions and yards than touchdowns. Hype train.
Cammy jumping on. Come on, jump on the hype train.
I mean,
we're about to leave the station.
It's kind of like the Trey McBride thing. I think Cooks is going to have a good year, but if Cooks is my 3rd wide receiver on my fantasy team,
you're going to get him way late. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
I'm not going to win anything. So
look, where Cooks is going in the draft, I don't have the ADP in front of me, but it's late. We're talking double-digit rounds.
It's like 5th. It's like your 5th receiver.
Yeah, he's like your 5th.
Maybe your 6th.
Maybe a flex.
Yeah.
So
on a week with buys, he's your flex. Yeah.
I guess I could be on his hype train then. If Brandon Cooks is my 5th receiver and has 800 yards and 5 touchdowns, I would be ecstatic.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Oh my God! Woo!
I had to pause for that drop because it's awesome. Johnny, hit it one more time.
Oh my God! Woo!
Woo! I am on the Brandon Cooks hype train. Look, this is a guy that's going into double-digit rounds, and we know he has a strong pass. I mean, he had 1,000 yards for the Saints, the Patriots, the Texans, the Rams. This is a guy that can get it done. There's a vacancy there in Dallas. He had 8 touchdowns last season. I don't think he's someone that you would ever want starting on a week-to-week basis, to Cam's point. Like, if he was your wide receiver 3, oh, crap, you got problems. But if he's going in the double-digit rounds as like your wide receiver 5 or 6, as an injury placement or someone when the bipocalypse hits that has to start your flex, sure, Brandon Cooks in the double-digit rounds, I'm all about that. All right, let's get out on the other side of the break. Sean Mapes has our big question. Last time, We got conspiracy theories. We got talked about JFK. We talked about the moon landing. It was a fun time. What does he have in store for us this week? Find out when the bullpen returns on ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is The Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. Welcome back into the Bullpen, ESPN Radio. We got 3 segments left for you. This segment, we're going to get into the big question. Sean has it this week. Next segment, of course, we have our Mount Rushmore Plus One, our award-winning, groundbreaking segment, Mount Rushmore Plus One. And we'll end the show, as we do every week, with our worst people in sports this week and what we loved in sports this week. But, Sean, the big question is yours, sir. What do you got for us?
The big question is, in fact, not a question. But I still want
Intrigued.
you to answer it. I want you to all answer it. Power rank the seasons for me.
Okay. So we're talking the fall, winter, summer. We're not talking like sports, right? Okay.
I was like season what?
Season 1 of yeah.
That might be an idea for
okay.
later.
I think
I thought you said seasonings. Yeah.
I'm.
You can go that way too. I'm interested.
Oh, seasonings?
No, well, no. He does.
Paprika, number one.
I didn't think this would be this confusing.
No, I'm with you. I'll go ahead and go first as Johnny and Cam are trying to catch up here talking about paprika.
Cayenne.
Yeah. Turmeric is a big one. I think it's got to make the list. Number 1 for me, definitely fall. You got spooky season. You got football going on. The weather's better. For that reason, because a lot of these things also apply to that as well. Winter's number 2. Because I hate the heat, which is kind of a problem when you live in Houston, Texas. But I hate the heat, so weather's better. You got football, you got the holidays. I like the kind of the fall winter themed foods to me are a little bit better than the summer stuff. Next spring, and you got the college basketball tournament, you got baseball coming back. Weather's still not bad. In last place, probably actually, I'm not even gonna put it 4th. I'm gonna put it like 97th. Summer. Summer can get bent. I hate it. Like there's nothing good about summer. Like all your TV shows are off. It's hot as hell. Like the people, like when you're a kid, the people you want to hang out with are on vacation with their families. Like, the only sport going on is baseball really, and especially when you get to July and you have the All-Star break, there's nothing going on. Yeah, summer's last for me.
All right, Cam.
Well, I mean, you're in Houston, so I really think there's only 2 seasons. But
Fair.
fall by far is my favorite.
Timeout. John, is fall your number one?
Yep.
Okay, so unanimous number one.
Yeah.
Fall.
Yeah, it
Okay.
has to be fall. Then
Fall Boys.
I'll go.
With a Z.
Man, this is kind
I'll
of tricky.
workshop it. Sorry, Sean.
It's almost like 2A, 2B for me. I'll go spring
Okay.
and then winter. Man, that's hard. At any point, I feel like I could flip flop those two. And then for sure, like you said,
Summer sucks.
I hate the summertime. I mean, it was different when I had a lot more time off during the summer, but now essentially that I work through the year, summer means nothing to me, and I dread the heat. Doesn't matter how long I've lived in Houston, I still can't get down with it. So, yeah, I hate summer.
All right, John.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. My number one is gonna be fall. Obviously, start of football season. I have winter at number 2. I feel like as you go through fall, then you go to Thanksgiving and Christmas. There's good food, good vibes, good football. NBA on Christmas Day. Like there's lots of things to love about winter. Spring, obviously, number 3. I think we're all gonna have the same answer here.
Yeah, pretty much all have the same answer. Sean, are you any different?
I am different. I have winter.
You all
last.
about hot boy summer?
Yeah, I have winter last. I'm not a big
That
fan
got
of winter.
Cam. That got Cam. I didn't think that was going to pop you that
I
much,
know.
Cam.
Yeah, you got me.
Hashtag
Yeah.
hot boy summer.
I fall again, unanimous number 1. I think the depth of talent it has, the not just the star level talent, but
Spooky season, baby.
I mean it has everything you want.
Yes.
If you prioritize weather, it's got weather. I guess they all have weather. It has good weather. If you want a holiday, it has a inner circle holiday inside that month with
You could stop worrying about hurricanes.
and tech.
Oh, good call.
Yeah.
If you want to get technical too, Thanksgiving's also in fall.
Yeah, Thanksgiving is in
It
fall.
is.
It is in
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah.
So you're getting probably two Mount Rushmore holidays.
Agreed.
Not to step on anyone's Mount Rushmore plus one.
Damn it, I got to redo my list.
But I think fall, and then you of course have the sports element where in October you have literally everything going on.
Orgasmic.
Yes. I got spring number 2. A lot of the same reasons with the weather and and just the overall coming out of winter. Maybe part of the reason spring is number 2 for me is because I have winter last, is because it is that, oh my God, we're done with winter feeling that you get with fall once probably March comes around. And yeah, then summer. I little bit of a nostalgia play with summer, having summers off when I was a kid. I still enjoy that. I still enjoy. I personally feel more free in the summer. Feel like there's less pressure at work. Maybe it's just because of what we do, where it's like everyone kind of takes
There's
vacation.
less to talk about.
Yeah, everyone takes vacation in the fall anyway. And then yeah, winter lasts sucks. Too
Yeah.
cold.
See,
Ugh.
but I think another reason why it's hard for me, like I could put winter too, but also spring is like I enjoy winter. Like when I take vacations, a lot of times I like to go to like colder climates. Like I love going to Colorado, but like because winter there's stuff to actually do. When you're in
Yeah.
Houston, there's nothing for you to
Just rains a
do
lot
to
and it's
take
cold.
advantage of it being winter. So like I enjoy, like John was saying, I enjoy like the things about winter, but there's just not a whole lot to like do with it here.
I
So-
also like the cold. Like putting on like a big jacket to like
Yeah.
go out. Like I love that feeling.
Oh,
We
yeah.
just have so much heat here, oppressive heat, that I just love the cold.
I don't like. See, that's why I like fall though, is because it's just enough to
It's
where
like a
you-
mix. Yeah.
where you
exactly.
wear a jacket, but it's not
Yeah,
like-
I don't need the
cold.
30-degree weather. Like, just give me like the 50s and 60s, like
Yeah.
high 50s, low 60s.
All right, next one. Maybe climate related. It's not actually climate related, but you can take it that way if you want. Next question: would you rather go 100 years into the past or 100 years into the future?
Oh, in the
Hmm.
past, because I love history and can read on how to survive, and
Okay,
Now,
Care myself.
I guess
plus the future looks bleak.
I just picked 100 years just as a round number.
so. So we go into 1924.
World's Fair kicking off.
You big World's Fair guy,
Yeah.
Sean.
You
You
can,
big,
you can hop in there and invent cotton candy before anyone else.
yeah. Like
A Model T Ford.
I guess a question on the
Pop some
clarity
corn
the
the
clarity of
old-fashioned
the question. Like, are we going back and just like being able to visit, or like if we're going back in the past, could you actually change anything? Like
Oof,
th-
that's
that
risky right
changes
there,
things
sir.
for me.
That's
Really?
risky.
How does it change things?
Well, because me, I would rather go in the future, to be honest. Because like if I go into the future, like selfishly, like if I go 100 years in the future, so I can look up all the World Series and Super Bowl winners for the next 100 years, and year by year, just bet on them and make tons of money.
So
Also,
you're choosing Biff from
yeah,
Back to the
basically.
Future 2.
Also, you can figure out, how things end, and maybe you do a few things differently to maybe alter, how things end, especially if you die too young.
You know
So,
what? Just for this, you're stranded in whatever you choose, so you can't go back.
oh, so you go there and you're stuck. You're not
Yeah.
going back. Ugh. I still think I'm going future. Like, I mean, the past is. I get Cam's point. Like, I love being. I'm not Paul Gallant levels with my history buffness, but I do enjoy like learning about history. But like, I've already read about that stuff.
Actually, that's
like
actually a
I
very
can't
good
read
point.
about what's going on in the future. Like the only way I can experience the technology that I'm going to be dead for, because I mean, obviously, I'm not living another 100 years.
Well, we don't
that
know.
I'll be lucky if I make it another 40. I would much rather like go ahead 100 years, because imagine just like in the last 30 years, like all the things that we didn't have that we do have now, and then you get to add 100 years. I'd rather know what that stuff is than go see the stuff from history that I've already read about.
Yeah, I'm actually going to change my answer. I'm going to go 100 years in the future because, to be honest, I don't want to die of typhoid fever at 27 in the 1920s. So,
You mean typhoid?
typhoid.
Tyrod Taylor fever.
I was trying to figure out what happened there.
It's like, wait, are you saying
Turns
Tyrod?
you into
I was
an
trying to think
average quarterback.
if you're saying Tyrod Taylor or thyroid.
I did
or,
have Tyrod on the mind.
Journeyman backup quarterback. Yeah,
What are these symptoms of thyroid fever? Do we have a
getting
symptoms
stabbed in the chest.
Poor guy.
Hey, why
man.
did your Chargers have to try to kill Tyrod Taylor?
First off,
Cam?
it wasn't the Chargers; it was the doctor who they promptly let go.
who was being paid by who? Cam.
The owner of the Chargers.
Okay, so it was the Chargers. The Chargers tried to kill Tyrod Taylor.
John, 100 years in the past or the future?
Yeah, I'm going future. I don't want to go back to the past simply for one reason. There's no internet in the past back in 1924. I want to see how AI destroys us going forward. So
Ooh.
I'm choosing the future.
So you
Okay.
want to go forward and see,
It's like iRobot.
yeah, like Terminator.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Quick follow up before you go to the next one. If you have another one, is there going to be if we fast forward 100 years? Is there going to be a world to go to?
Find
Or
out.
is because John said like he wants to see how AI kills us. If AI kills us all, there's not going to be anything there when you go 100 years.
We're gonna be on another planet.
I guess for the game to play, there has to be a destination.
you get Travis like, oh, well,
this sucks.
this is unfortunate.
Yeah, there's no ozone. And I'm just slowly suffocating. All right.
It looks like
Glad I picked the future.
yeah. If anyone's played the game Starfield, it looks just like Earth and Starfield.
Yeah. Man,
Which is nothing there except for like a random cop. For some reason, in this world, like Earth has been destroyed, everyone has to move off Earth and go to distant planets. But you travel there at one point, and there's nothing there except for like a coffee cup randomly. Like why of all things did this coffee cup survive?
Hey, you're stuck there with the cockroaches and coffee cups and Twinkies, all because you didn't want to, I don't know, invent jazz in the 1920s. You don't want to light a lamp.
And jazz sucks. I don't
Whoa!
want, yeah, I don't want. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I
Be
I
mad.
mean, I guess it's not all bad. Like good jazz. That like if I went to New Orleans or Chicago and like, I think I would enjoy that seeing it live. But some I don't know. Some of it goes too far. Like the stuff that was used. Do you remember the Homeland intro? Did you any
No.
of you guys watch Homeland? Okay, well never
It
mind.
took me a second to realize what question you're asking me.
But anyway, they use jazz. The jazz they use in that intro is it's great. You got another question?
I do, but we can save it for another time.
Oh yeah, we're on. Yeah, you're right. We're up against. We got to save time because on this other break, Mount Rushmore +1. Welcome to the best part of your week in Houston. That on the bullpen when we return on ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome into the best part of your weekend, Houston. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. It is time for the groundbreaking, award-winning segment, the moment that changed the landscape of sports radio forever, Mount Rushmore plus one. We know main event Mapes is going to Mape, or
What? Huh?
main event Mapes is going to main event. I tried to say it so fast I said main event Mapes is going to Mape, which I don't know what that means. Maybe we'll find out in the future.
Mapes
Mount Rushmore
gonna Mape.
plus one.
What can I say?
Cam, you want to kick us off? What is your Mount Rushmore plus one, sir?
My Mount Rushmore plus one is in honor of being at the bar the other day and witnessing.
In punching a punching bag?
No,
Breaking your
no,
elbow?
absolutely not. I stay away from those
Those are
villainous-
clowns.
and those bad boys. It was watching ESPN 8, The Ocho,
Oh, okay.
and seeing some of the most obscure sports that I think that you could find on there. So to kick us off, mullet championships.
So this is what they just show up and like is it kind of like a mustache thing where they just have judges and they just grade your mullet? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's I mean, it's like it's like a body or like a bodybuilding bikini contest, whatever. Except
Sounds
for
like
it's,
a good time.
you're judging.
John, you into the mullet competition?
I'd be a judge. Yeah.
I would too.
Call me.
What bona fides do you need to be a judge?
Yeah. What's your resume look like? Yeah, like other experiences that relate to this
Is it
job.
like the slam dunk contest where Dominique Wilkins can be the judge forever because
Yeah.
of what he did in the 80s?
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's
Dr.
some guy-
J, yeah.
He's bald now, but some old timers like, no, you should have seen him back in his day.
Oh, can there be a
He put all
judge
these
for a
kids
mullet
to shame.
competition that's bald? Like I don't know. Like
I'm sorry, did you say a bald competition?
Oh, do you think Dominique Wilkins can still dunk?
yes.
Michael Jordan still can. I saw a video of it.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
He dunked at age 54 just
Okay.
recently.
Well, he's 6'6".
Interesting how I asked about Dominique Wilkins. If you-
I'm changing the subject.
yeah.
But
Can
old guys
Spud
can
Webb
still dunk. Well, no, because he's tiny.
Yeah, he can still be a dunk
Tall
contest
guys can
champ.
still dunk.
Clyde
I-
Drexler, can he still
look,
dunk?
I'm sorry. I respect the sanctity of the game, Sean.
Can
and I
Brent
want my
Barry still
judges
dunk?
for the mullet competition to have hair. I respect the game, Sean.
Okay.
Cam, what's next?
Viable. Next one, slippery stairs. This is where
What? That sounds like a lawsuit.
well, it's not.
Or it is also the basis of a Netflix documentary.
It could be actually. It is where the contestants dress up in full bodysuits and they have to make their way up flights of lubricated stairs. First one to the top that rings the bell wins.
Okay,
Okay.
I can
You know
get
what?
behind
Actually,
that.
kind of sounds fun.
I would
get
do it.
behind
I,
that.
I would do
If
it.
you're in a full bodysuit and protected, I think I would do that.
I would do it
Soft.
for sure. Next one, Stein holding. So this is a German
Okay, so
sport.
big beer stein, yeah.
Yeah, you have to
Ben Stein
hold up or hold
You
out.
gotta hold up. How many Ben Steins can you hold?
Oh God, I'd lose. You have to hold out a liter of beer, and the person that holds out the longest before dropping
That's
it
just
wins.
dumb. Like I've seen competition, not just beer steins, but other competition where you just have to hold the object out until your arm gives
Yeah.
out. Just dumb. Like the people that do that. Like
I would like it if it was how many you can hold.
yeah, that
a
would be
la
more
a
fun.
waitress at Oktoberfest.
Yeah, that would be more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it'd be fun if like you could hold one out and your other hand, you're like, you can.
No, that just sounds like you're going to end up on the injured list. You're going to wake up with you're going to
Yeah.
sleep on your elbow wrong.
You
and
only
wake-
Stein hold once. What are you gonna do? I mean, next one, and this is the one that I personally witnessed on the TV. Car jitsu.
Huh.
So
Wait, okay, you're gonna have to explain this one. I assume jitsu like jujitsu, but with
Yes.
a car.
so
How do you do jujitsu with a car?
me and my best friend were watching this for like 10 minutes trying to figure out exactly what the point was. We thought that at first so there's a guy in the driver's seat and passenger seat.
Yep.
And we thought the point was you had to cross over and the first person to get out of the opposing window won. That's not the
Are
case.
they
Oh.
fighting while this is going on?
They're like shoving and like hand grappling essentially.
Sounds
Turns
like a good
out
time.
you actually win and get points by
high school.
submitting the opponent with the seatbelt.
Oh,
So
you're
they
choking dudes out with the seatbelt?
yes.
So it's like an action
that's-
movie scene.
That's lit.
literally
That's
Yeah, I've
lit.
seen that in a movie.
yeah. And I'm talking
Deadpool's on her screen. I saw that in Deadpool.
yeah, this dude literally
Spoilers.
had the seatbelt around this other dude's like throat with his legs like twitching in like the air before he
That
tapped
sounds
out.
like a sport that borderlines on murder. Like it's getting really close.
It
This
was-
is UFC.
It was wild.
Yeah.
If you can't handle the heat, stay out of the kitchen,
That's a
B-Mac.
good point, Johnny. That's a
Yeah.
good point. I
Do they
back
have-
down. Johnny's right.
So, do they? Question one, and there will be a question two. Do they have weight classes? From what you could gather.
From what we gathered, no. It was like teams of 5. You start. There's a judge. He.
See, I don't
flips
think weight is an advantage in this though, because you're dealing in small places.
Leads to my second question.
Okay.
Are there, I guess, different classifications for the cars? Where there's a sedan edition, there's a
Good question.
SUV edition.
We were curious. We
An
were like,
Escalade edition.
that's what we thought the weight classes might be. It's like you got like a Fiat, then you go up to a Camry, then you got like a little Subaru Forester, then the Escalade. Like, what are we working with? But
The
no,
sponsorship opportunities are limitless.
it looked like
alone.
they were just in a regular 4-door Kia. Just
It's
Just
I
one-
can,
grappling.
I can see it being pretty. Budget comes into
Sure.
serious.
Yeah,
serious.
yeah, sure.
You run into issues.
last one, tire wrestling. So this is where they take 2 of those like ginormous, looks like little monster truck tires. There's 2 of them, and essentially you are wrestling around the tires, and you have to essentially dunk the other person into the tires.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like kind of reverse sumo wrestling, where you're trying to get people out of a ring.
Yeah.
And this one you're trying to get people in.
Yeah.
A
And it was
ring.
crazy because it was literally car-jitsu for an hour and then tire wrestling. So like we were very entertained.
Was it the same competitors in both?
It was not.
It's like the decathlon.
No, the tire wrestlers were a little larger than the car jiu-jitsu or car
I could see
jitsu
that.
opponent.
I could definitely see that. I could see that.
All right, my Mount Rushmore +1 in honor of Alex Bregman telling us he hurt himself sleeping, are the dumbest, weirdest injuries that I've ever heard of in Major League Baseball. Number 1, let's start off with the Astros. Let's keep it here in H-Town. Let's localize it and give it a tie to Lance McCullers getting head on the elbow by a champagne bottle in 2022.
Yeah.
And Carlos Correa telling the world that he hurt his ribs from a massage that I guess was too aggressive.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was both ways. Like the kind of spirit of this list is like they're telling us something so weird and so embarrassing that it has to be true. Like the story they're making, they wouldn't make if they were going to go with a lie. This ain't it.
I believe the McCullers one. I don't.
You don't believe the Carlos Correa
still
one?
don't really think the Carlos Correa one's accurate.
Yeah, he was out for a while too.
He's out
like
for a while.
the ribs.
Daniela has that tough. of a-
Was someone like walking across his back? I don't know what happened there. Yeah, but McCullers and I mean, go figure. Lance McCullers and Carlos Correa. Those
know.
2 guys are the ones that have
Fitting-
the weird injuries.
fitting
Like,
start.
that fits with their profile. Jose Quintana, the pitcher, he's been all across the major leagues. He once cut his hand in 2020 while washing dishes and missed some time.
When he was with the White Sox?
It might have been. Yeah, it was actually during COVID. He was at home like washing dishes and cut his hand and had to miss time. I mean, I don't know how aggressively you guys wash dishes, but that's never been a problem. Washing dishes, cutting my hand.
Imagine that phone call to the team.
I know.
Yeah, look, Skip. Yeah. I cut my hand. Oh, how? Like what? Yeah. See, I was washing this bowl, right? My salad bowl. And,
It
yeah.
has to be a knife.
It has.
Maybe.
He probably tried to dry the knife with the blade end down and cut himself.
That's
Idiot.
That's still dumb. Either way,
Have you never worked in a restaurant, professional baseball
Yeah.
player?
probably not. I don't think he has.
Oh yeah.
Next one, Jeremy had felt the pitcher once cut his hand trying to separate frozen burger patties and missed some time.
That I don't understand how.
Like, I get they stick. Sometimes the frozen things will stick together really
How do you
hard.
hurt yourself.
But how do you cut yourself?
Yeah.
unless
Like
there
you
was-
just get like a little spatula and like wedge it in there and they pop apart or something.
unless those patties had like ice. What is it? Ice. What do they call it? The
Icicles,
ice freeze or whatever.
freezer burn.
Freezer burn. But at that point, it's like you should notice that and not eat those patties. So
yeah, I don't know. Like I can't imagine and I can't imagine cutting my hand on
Also,
frozen burgers.
That's another one where I don't love the fact this guy's eating frozen burgers, but that's like a second issue if I'm the team.
scouting, yeah, on his scouting reports, like he eats frozen hamburgers.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro. You're in the major leagues. Like, can we advance past frozen burgers? Joel Zamaya, the former pitcher for the
Oh,
Tigers. You remember this one,
Yeah,
Sean?
yeah.
Cam and John, you know this one? Either of you? Okay. So what Sean already knows, Joel Zamaya, this is way back, like 2009, once injured his wrist, missed 3 games from playing Guitar Hero.
He was like kind of never the same after that.
Yeah, like it. I was into Guitar Hero back in the day. Who wasn't? If you're of at least of a certain age back at that time, but I look. I mean,
Was it
just,
at least a
it
tournament?
was just a little button that you're pressing. Like, how do you injure your wrist from that? Like, are you full on like trying to strum it and be a badass?
Yeah, he's probably
and
really
doing
into it.
like doing the windmill strum like you're Pete Townsend or something. That is just
Wait, he hurt his ribs?
no wrist. Yeah, because
Wrist,
like
yeah.
when you held it, you're just flicking your thumb. Like your fingers are up here on the fret, and the
probably like this motion. Just,
yeah, I don't know. I think he was trying to overdo it for sure. And last one of the embarrassing ways Major League Baseball players have hurt themselves. Clint Barnes of the Rockies. I don't know if any of you know this story, but he once fell, broke his collarbone, missed a couple months because he was trying to carry deer meat given to him by teammate Todd Helton.
I mean, that one I understand.
You've been there before.
Yeah.
You've broken your collarbone trying to carry
it's-
deer meat from Todd Helton.
Yeah, from Todd Helton. Yeah.
Better than trying to split 2 frozen burger
Yeah, you
patties.
know what? That's probably the worst one. I don't know. I don't know. Guitar Hero might be worse. That might be the worst
yeah.
one of this list.
No, but Guitar Hero is fun. I mean, why
That's
is a
true.
major league player eating frozen patties? That's the worst one.
That's
for sure.
that's really bad. There's so many more on this list. I mean, like Sammy Sosa once went on the injured list because of a sneeze that was too hard. There's so many more that I wish I could get to, but we're
Cocaine's
running
a
out
hell
of
of a
time.
drug.
And we got to save time because it's time for main event Mapes.
Main
Go ahead
event
and main
Mapes.
event Mapes.
My Mount Rushmore this week is in honor of the preseason in the NFL, where hope springs eternal. And every team, every fan of every team thinks, you know what, this guy, he could be the next superstar for our team.
Okay.
This is the Mount Rushmore +1 of Houston Texans. I thought we're going to be awesome.
I like this.
And during this part of the calendar,
Not specific. A lot of it is actually they were good, and then I was like, boom, just found a superstar, and then actually they're only good for 1 year. Or guys that I was always kept a little bit of hope that, oh no, this year he's gonna put it all together.
I'm gonna write down a name because I think there's an obvious like almost 101 to me that I'm curious to see
Okay.
that it has to be on this list. But go ahead and start your list as I write this down. And I can show it to you after you say it.
Number 1 on this list, Brooks Reed.
Okay, not on my list, but yeah, that's a good one.
I thought Brooks Reed and J.J. Watt. I was like, boom, nailed the draft.
Yeah, well, he was a second round pick, I think, out of
I
Arizona.
believe he was a second round.
Yeah,
pick,
I thought. Yeah, he looked good. I thought early in his career, I thought he was going to be pretty good too.
That was one of the first Texans jerseys I bought. It was a
Yo,
Brooks
you
Reed.
got a Brooks Reed jersey.
He was
Wow.
better than Watt for most of that season, and then Watt was obviously awesome in the
How'd it go after
playoff
that?
game.
Yeah.
And then won 3 Defensive Player of the Years in 4 years.
No big deal.
Yes, J.J. Watt will not be on this list, although I did think he was going to be good after he was already good. Number 2, another rookie year, and I thought Gravy Train's going to roll on forever. Steve Slayton.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, what
There it is.
Virginia.
I knew it. Yeah, Steve Slayton was. I thought the most. He had. You might have the stats in front of you,
right in front of
but
me.
he had like a 1,300-yard season, and all of a sudden
1282 and 9 touchdowns.
1282 and he did some work in the receiving game too. I was like, this guy is amazing coming out of West Virginia where he was awesome there too. It wasn't like it came out of complete nowhere. He was a good
Yeah.
player in college and then
And
nothing after his rookie
I
season.
think no, that wasn't. Never mind. He was probably the first huge breakout that Gary Kubiak had at running back, and
Yeah, because that's pre-Foster.
yeah, and I was gonna say basically the career that Arian Foster had, I thought Steve Slayton was
Same.
gonna have.
No,
I was like,
absolutely
Steve
the
Slayton
same.
is just gonna be Arian Foster.
Yeah.
And, next on my list, another one of that era. And this one's less of what he did on the field, but just more some facts about him.
Okay.
Amobi Okoye.
Oh.
See, I never thought he was going to be good.
I-
Partly because they
Mr.
drafted him at, like,
16 in
19.
college.
That's
yeah.
why I was like, wait until he becomes a
Wait till he
grown
gets
man.
his man body.
Yeah. This guy's a sophomore in college. He's the age of someone who's a sophomore in college, and
Wait till he actually hits a weight room.
Yeah,
with his man body.
and any sack you got, you're like, man, just another year or two.
This
in,
guy's going to have a 20-year career.
in an NFL weight room? Are you kidding me? Yeah, never really. I think he was only a pro for like 6 years.
Yeah, none of it was really good.
No, he was
No.
retired by 27.
Yeah. God, wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
You'd already be done. We'd all be done.
Yeah, we all
John,
would be.
John, would you be done?
With what? I'm sorry.
If you retired at 27, would you already be done? I don't know how old you are.
I'm 30.
Okay, so we'd all be done.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Next on my list, James Casey. tight end.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good
from
one.
Rice.
Rice.
I-
Yeah.
He was good enough for a couple splash plays, or not splash plays, but where the like leak out the backside plays.
He just looked the part.
Didn't they play him at
if you had,
fullback
if you
too?
had to
he played a little
Yeah.
fullback.
if you had to design like what a tight end looked like, just the body types, like James Casey just
Yes.
fit that. He looked like just a physical specimen.
Last but not least, and probably is the last time I believe a college quarterback moving to wide receiver would be successful, Braxton Miller.
Knew it. That was the
yeah.
one.
I am forever out on, yes, he was a college quarterback, but they're going to move him to receiver.
I remember seeing one. They posted like a hype video of him doing like a Euro step off the lines, where he got like this crazy separation. I remember seeing that, I was like, I'm in. Look at this guy's footwork. He's gonna
Boom.
do it. And yeah, nothing.
You think Bill
same with him
O'Brien
and
might have?
DeVere Posey.
You think Bill O'Brien might have had something to do with that? Not playing rookies, not believing in rookies, not giving them a real chance.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, John. Back-to-back AFC South champs.
All right, we got to get out. We are a little bit over this segment. That's okay. Mount Rushmore +1 is worth going over for. We got to finish up here on the final segment for the week with our worst person in sports this week and what we love from sports this week. When ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5, the Bullpen returns.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome back into the Bullpen as the Texans game has reached Matt Schaub in the booth part of the game. You know all the important stuff is going on in the game when, well, let's not show the accent. Let's show Matt Schaub standing next to John Harris.
In a blue polo shirt.
Yeah, in a blue polo. Yeah, so, if you're still watching the Texans game, 1Y, and 2, you're probably not hearing this because you're watching the Texans game. But, all right, we got about 6 minutes left. We'll have to be quick here, but let's get into the worst people in sports this week. Cam, who is your worst person in sports this week?
Noah Lyles.
I mean, you can elaborate some.
Okay. I don't know, man. That I thought the name just alone would explain it.
You give me like one sentence.
I don't know, man. That dude irks me more than a disobedient, snot-nosed 5-year-old that I have to work with. I mean,
wow.
The fact that awesome, you won a gold medal in the 100. There was no sickness. No COVID inclination in that one. But then you get third in the 200, and all of a sudden you have COVID. But then a few days later, you're partying in the club without a mask. And then you want to talk trash about Anthony Edwards because he got a massive Adidas deal. And this is also after you've already talked about how you're not impressed with what was his remarks about Olympic men's basketball? Like,
oh, they're not world champions.
They're not world champions. It's just like this dude is such a hater on another level. Like, I don't understand where it's coming from, man. Like, of course Anthony Edwards is going to get a massive shoe deal. Everybody knows who Anthony Edwards is. Like,
we only learn about you every 4 years.
Yeah. Exactly. So that is by far my worst person.
He might be the new Paul Pierce of this.
Ooh, yeah. Paul Pierce has his jersey retired and worst person in sports. Yeah. All right, my worst person in sports, I'll let the audio speak for itself, but Tom Brady, for some reason, and although today didn't really help his case, or didn't really help my case for worst person, decided to take a right turn and throw some shade at Daniel Jones.
Horrible. Like, I just can't say that on TV.
Why not?
Well, because there's parents and, there's parents and there's family members, and I don't want to always necessarily say it in that way.
Okay.
But I think if I was doing it myself, and let's say I threw a really bad interception, I would walk to the sidelines and I said, you are the worst quarterback in the world. How can you possibly make that throw? That was terrible. But I just don't want to be so critical because in some ways I don't necessarily know exactly what the problem was on that play. If, let's say, Daniel Jones throws an interception. I didn't mean to say it like that.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I wasn't even being critical of Daniel Jones.
So they ask him, like, how are you going to handle being critical on TV? And he decides to take that moment. It's like, let's just get a shot in here on Daniel Jones. Just the complete drive-by. Now, Daniel Jones today throwing some picks. So maybe my bad, Tom. You were right. But I was like, come on, Tom. Like, Daniel Jones, like, sitting at home. He's got Kay Adams blowing up his phone because he's got the new beard going. She apparently finds it attractive. And you're just going to throw some stray bullets his way, take a side swipe at him. Like, what do you want to do as the broadcaster? Well, Daniel Jones, when he throws picks, like, come on, man.
Yeah. Hey,
John, your worst person in sports?
Not something Indy Kalu was doing when he was throwing picks the entire first half. My worst person in sports this week, I don't know who to blame, the Houston Astros or Alex Bregman, but the messaging around the injury. Hey, listen, you got hurt. Nothing I can do about that. It's been that kind of year for the Astros. They basically dropped the "we need to talk" text and to the entire fan base. Just don't make them available. Just don't make them available. Don't go.
We're not going to believe anything you say at this point, Astros. Just tell us when he's back.
Or just don't have him play on last night and then have post-game Joe Espada just be like, yeah, wasn't feeling great.
He's a little sore.
Yeah,
we'll see how he feels in the morning.
Off.
Yeah.
Not an issue. But we had to do 2 segments of, oh my God, is he gonna need Tommy John surgery?
All right, so let's quickly doggy paddle over to the Sea of Tranquility, and we're done with the Anger Sharks. Good. So we're in the Sea of Tranquility. We're doggy paddling around, talking about the things we love from sports. We gotta be quick. We got 2 minutes. I'll quickly say Chris Jones deciding that he's going to pay the $1.5 million in chicken wings that a woman sold so she could be set free and not have to serve her 9-year jail sentence. Chris Jones, you're an American hero,
Man
sir.
of the people.
Yes. Sean, what is what you love from sports this week?
Nick Cage playing John Madden in a
Yeah.
in a biopic coming up.
Can I tell you, not a criticism, but Nick Cage wasn't the first person to pop to mind when I thought John Madden casting.
Neither. Same with me. However, I am intrigued.
I am very intrigued.
And I'm also just glad that we are going to get a John Madden biopic.
Hell yeah.
I feels a little overdue for that.
Oh, for sure. Cam, what'd you love from sports this week?
I'm going to go with Houston and Texas in general when it comes to the Olympics. Texas alone had 18 gold medals, which ranked would have been third, like tied for third amongst all the countries that competed, and 41 total medals, which was more than like Japan.
So you're saying we should
Italy.
secede and be our own country? I got you, Cam.
Texas
All
could
right,
be
that'll
their
do
own
it for the
country in the
Bullpen.
Olympics.
ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Sorry, Cam. I had to try to strange you on the hot take island. Cam wants to secede from the union. That'll do it for the Bullpen.
No.
Be back next week. Have a good week in Houston. Go Texans.